Uh, so, so this is a day to honor that, and to honor what that means to you, and to honor uh, your your gratitude for what the Guru has shown, has given you. Because the way I looked at it, and the way I look at it now, really, uh, I I worked my ass off for Baba. I did everything I could. I did whatever I could for all of my gurus in different ways. But I never felt like there was even a slightest chance of my breaking even. It wasn't possible because they gave so much. They gave everything, you see. And I was lucky because in the end, there had always been, throughout my sadhana, there was a guru-disciple relationship. And in the end, that all melted away. And there was no more of that distinction. So now we're all here with you, exactly the same as they were all there with me when I was a seeker and a disciple. Now everyone's here with everyone here, and we're all one. And until you know that we're all one, you can enjoy the guru-disciple relationship, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was a true gift. It was a real gift, something very, very precious in my life, and it served its purpose, and it did eventually totally annihilate that which divided us, that which made it guru-disciple relationship was extinguished. And then there was just a sense of being, which is exactly the same, you see. Exactly the same. I always thought they were doing all these things, and now I know. No one's doing anything. But it's such a beautiful manifestation, and such a lucky event. There's not that many Siddha gurus around. There's not that many true enlightened beings. There's a lot of approximations, and there's a lot of things that are something else. Teacher, student, whatever it is. But guru disciple is very, very rare. That it even happens is rare. And I was so blessed to have more than one, because you see, Baba didn't live long enough for that relationship to culminate. Of course, I took a long, long time. I started early too, but that meant I had more of an adventure. I got to see all these amazing beings, so many. I mean, I got to basically meet Maharaj through Ramesh, and Ramana as well. And I got to be in the Ramana ashram, and I didn't get to take advantage of a lot of things while I was there because it was just so quiet. It was so quiet. It was almost unbearably quiet in that place. So I didn't ask anybody anything. Yeah. And it was just hanging out. That energy was still there. And it was the early days still before. And now it's very crowded there. But in any case, that's how things are. And then I got to see Shree. What an amazing being that Shree, someone who basically was considered enlightened at birth. Totally different really extraordinary being. And there you see the one thing that all the gurus had in common was that sense of stillness was around them. Sense of stillness, of quiet. So it's I didn't really have that in my life. My mind was busy, and I was fairly neurotic, and there was a lot of stuff going on in my head. And so I got a little break, a little taste of what it was from them. And the thing about Baba, you see, Baba was doing the Shaktipat thing. So basically, Shaktipat was something that a guru would give a disciple after they've really put in 20 years and shown that they're ready, that they're ripe. Well, Baba was giving that out to just people off the street. He was, and so I go to my first intensive, and it was actually the last intensive of that tour, but it was my first, and it was just a miracle. I didn't have the money for the intensive. It was $100, and there was one person I knew there, and she said she didn't have the money, and it was before the time of ATMs and other ways of, and I didn't have any credit cards at that time, and so there was very little chance of my going. And I think, just out of desperation, I went through my wallet for what must have been the 5th or 6th time, and there was a neatly folded up $100 bill. Okay. First thing I did was run down to registration for the intensive, and they said, it's full, but we'll put you on a wait list. And that evening at the evening talk, Baba asked all the old-timers, the people who had been to all the intensives, because there were people that stayed there the whole summer, and they bought the whole package. And he said, if you can, make room for people who haven't been to any, that would be great. And so people did, and there I was. They said I could get in. I have this habit of being early. So I'm always early and I think I've wasted a year of my life waiting in airports because I'm always early. And so I got there early. In fact, I was first in line, and so I didn't know, but what that meant was I got to sit right up front. So I got to sit, like there was a Swami in front of me, and then there was Baba. So I was right up in front, and Baba starts doing his talk, and he's talking, but he's staring at me. He was staring directly at me. And this went on, and as it went on, I don't remember anything. It was like time stood still. It was like I wasn't there. But all there was that eye contact with Baba, and it was like everything else was gone. Just that moment. The thing that occurred to me is, first, oh no, he can't really be looking at me. And the second thing is, everyone here must be noticing by now. He's just looking at me through the whole talk. And it wasn't until the end of the intensive, because he continued to do this every time he was talking. And it was the last talk, and at the very last talk, it occurred to me, maybe I should be listening to what he's saying. And as soon as I did that, every single word was exactly for me. It was exactly. I couldn't believe it. I was really blown away. And honestly, I knew I didn't know what had happened at that time. I knew it was above my understanding. What I didn't know is there was no way to understand it anyway. But it did take about 21 years after that before that place in his eyes, that moment, became the only moment there was. That it took that long for me to come up to that moment. That was my initiation. I was picked out. And it bore fruit, you see. It just took some time for this one to ripen. It was a real gift. In any case, he made a real impression on me. And I was so blown away when he died. I never considered that possibility. I was really mourning him. It was hard for me to be in the meditation hall because I couldn't be in there without crying. I was in there. I was sitting pretty close. Now, Gurumayi, she took over after he was gone, and this must have been 1.5, 2 years after, and it was still tears. And I remember I was sitting there, and I heard her voice in my head saying, "Why don't you take your power?" And that did. The grieving ceased after that. And I stayed in the ashram for quite a while with Gurumayi. She was very, very kind to me, and we had a very close relationship. We knew each other well. I knew her before she was Gurumayi, and we had a good relationship then. And she was really the reason why I had the seva of sitting by Baba's door and walking with him to the hall. She was the one who basically handpicked the people who did that. And there were only a few of us really that ever were able to do it regularly, because Chief of Security would put someone on that seva, and Gurumayi would, or Malti at the time, would say, "No, not this one." So it was just a few of us that really had that job. It was a lovely job. I got to be close to my guru at all time, and in a way that I got to see him how he was. I got to see Baba without his teeth. How he actually lived. Yeah. Same thing with Ramesh. I got to see Ramesh without his teeth. And then, when people came, he put them back in. So anyway, Ramesh and I, this happened, I was with Gurumayi in Ganeshpuri, India. And whenever you could, you'd take a couple days, go down to Bombay, just, as a break. And I saw some people in the lobby of the Taj Hotel. All the Westerners would hang out there. And there were people I knew from the ashram. And they said, "Oh, we're going to go see this enlightened guy." And I said, "Well, can I tag along?" And they said, "Sure." And so I went along with them to see Ramesh. I didn't know anything about him at all. All I knew, they said he had written a book, Pointers on Nisargadatta Maharaj, and someone in the group saw he was in Bombay, looked him up in the phone book and called him, and asked if they could come over. Now, Ramesh had only talked to someone in this group one other time, and this was the second time he had ever given a talk. And I came over. There must have been a dozen of us, and I was the last one in, because I was tagging along, and everyone was seated. There was a rocking chair, and so I sat in the rocking chair, and everyone's looking at me like I'd done something horrible, and they said, "That's his chair. I didn't know. And so I immediately got up, and Ramesh, he said, no, you sit. And he took the footstool from under the chair and sat on it and gave the talk from the footstool. Now, I loved what Ramesh had to say, because Ramesh said the things that I was most attracted to with Baba. Baba would give these great talks. Really, he was a brilliant speaker, and he was very entertaining with lots of stories. He was great, and he would have talk. He would talk on all different levels, because there'd be 500 people there, and they were on all different levels. But at the end of his talk, he would always pare it down to what was absolutely true, and usually that would totally tear apart what he had said previously. That's what I loved the most about his talks, that he would go at the end, he would say, hey, and by the way, everything I just told you, forget about it. There's nothing you can do. Nothing's in your hands. It's all God's will, whatever it was. And it was like, whoa, I love it. And that was the part of the talk I was really in for. Most of the people were actually in for the other parts of the talk. But I was so impressed, and then I listened to Ramesh. And Ramesh was 100% the end of Baba's talks. That's all he talked about. Advaita Vedanta, this non-duality. And so I loved it. I was intrigued, and this was something I could wrap my mind around and really understand intellectually, learn to understand intellectually. Anyhow, I continued to see Ramesh whenever I could. But it was difficult because I was in the ashram and I had my own work there, and I couldn't leave every day. I left every chance I could. And then I decided that I would make subsequent trips to India just to see Ramesh so I could see him every day, which I did. And that went on for many, many, many years. And for those years, I had Ramesh basically to myself. Primarily, maybe a person here and there, but Ramesh and I were on every day. And so it was a relationship that I could never have with Baba, because Baba and I were just, he was everything to me. He was so awesome, and it was never going to be equal. Ramesh and I, we had like a friendship. We felt like old friends, and both of us had the same sense of humor, and we joked around, and it was really easy with us. And Ramesh and his wife Sharda invited me in basically as family, totally as family, and it was a relationship with an enlightened being that I could only dream of, right? But I didn't have that guru-disciple relationship with him. It took a long time before that happened. But certainly teacher-student, yes. But Baba was always my guru. So I didn't need that. In any case, it's a little history. I love Guru Purnima because I can waste all your time talking about my gurus. which were just, they're everything to me, and even now, even though I don't feel any separation, still these guys are everything. And so I hope that you all are lucky enough to have that experience in your lives, because that's what carried me through and enabled for their grace is what made it possible for this to be happening now.